You know that split second of free fall when you step off a curb you completely didn't see?
Oh yeah, the worst.
Right. Your stomach drops, your arms just sort of flail out, and for a terrifying moment, you have absolutely zero control over gravity.
Yeah, I mean, that's an autonomic nervous system response, pure primal panic. Your amygdala just completely takes over, and your higher reasoning completely blue screens for a second.
Exactly. Well, imagine that exact feeling of breathless free fall, but, instead of lasting for half a second, it lasts for the first 6 months of a new job.
Yeah, that is a very real, very terrifying thing.
It really is. You sign the offer letter, you show up on day one, look at your calendar, and immediately realize you are in way, way over your head. So today, for our deep dive, we are looking at the competence chasm.
The chasm.
The chasm. That terrifying, basically Mariana Trench-sized gap between what your shiny new job title says you can do and what you can actually execute on a Tuesday morning. We're diving into a really brilliant, somewhat satirical, but actually highly tactical survival guide. It's called The Apprentice's Guide to Pretending You Know What You're Doing.
Which is such a great title.
It is. And the mission today is to map out the exact science of how to fake it, right? Until your brain actually learns how to do your job.
And, the premise here is incredibly validating for the listener because it acknowledges that everyone falls into this chasm.
Everyone.
Everyone. I mean, the new intern is in the chasm. The middle manager trying to, coordinate cross-functional synergies is in the chasm. The CEO is in the chasm. They just have, better lighting and a way better PR team while they fall.
Oh, totally.
The modern workplace just moves too fast for anyone to be perfectly qualified for what they're doing on any given day.
Right. Which actually brings up my absolute favorite concept we're exploring today, the 3 raccoons principle.
Yes. The raccoons. This is so good.
It's amazing. So for the listener, the idea is you walk into the office projecting the aura of a unified, highly competent professional, but psychologically, you are actually just 3 raccoons stacked on top of each other in a trench coat.
Barely holding it together.
Barely. You've got raccoon 1, right, the optimist. This is the raccoon who interviewed for the job and genuinely believes, a good attitude and free cold brew can solve systemic supply chain issues.
Bless Raccoon 1.
Then you have Raccoon 2, the realist, who is desperately Googling basic industry acronyms at 2 in the morning. And finally, Raccoon 3, the chaos agent. They are just there for the catered lunches and, occasionally hits reply all by mistake.
Yeah, it perfectly encapsulates that fragmented reality of imposter syndrome. But the big revelation in the source material isn't just that you are 3 raccoons in a trench coat. It's the realization that the entire global economy is just raccoons successfully convincing other raccoons that they are not, in fact, raccoons. Right. We are all projecting this unified front while frantically paddling underneath the surface.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my initial instinct when looking at these strategies when I was reading through this is that we are basically studying a manual on how to commit corporate fraud.
Yeah, and that anxiety is super common. But we have to separate malicious deception from, developmental strategy.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, lying is claiming you have a decade of experience coding in Python when you've never written a line of code. That's fraud.
Right, that's just a lie.
Exactly. What we are exploring today is strategic silence and tactical curiosity. The core thesis here is that thinking it is not a moral failing. It is simply the larval stage of competence.
The larval stage.
Yeah, you are creating the necessary time and psychological space to let the actual learning occur without being entirely consumed by panic.
And to survive that larval stage, you can't really rely on your brain, right? Because your brain is currently screaming. You have to start with the most immediate physical tool at your disposal. So if you're falling into the chasm, how do you stop the crash? You use your physical body.
Because your internal monologue might be absolute chaos, but your exterior can project total unflappable competence.
Exactly. Physical camouflage. When your cognitive load is totally maxed out, just trying to, understand the vocabulary being used in a meeting, you have to put your physical presence on autopilot.
It is your first line of defense.
And it starts with the 11-pound credibility generator sitting on top of your neck.
The head.
The head. Specifically, the confident nod. And this isn't just, aimlessly bobbing your head. It is a highly calibrated social signal.
Oh, absolutely.
Take the slow, pensive nod, the SPN. You deploy this when someone in authority is explaining a profoundly complex strategy that sounds like absolute gibberish to you.
Total nonsense, yeah.
Right. So you wait exactly half a second after they stop speaking, execute 2 or 3 slow, deliberate nods, you furrow your brow, and perhaps even close your eyes for a fraction of a second.
Because you are visually signaling, I am absorbing the immense gravity and complexity of your words.
When internally, you are just wondering if you have time to grab a bagel before your next call.
Precisely.
Like, look at the anecdote about Jessica from the guide. She was a marketing coordinator 4 months into a new role, and her director went on this blistering 20-minute tangent about a 360-degree holistic brand integration matrix.
Which means nothing.
Nothing. Jessica caught maybe 3 words of it, but instead of freezing or looking panicked, she anchored the room with the slow, pensive nod. She didn't say a single word. She just physically validated the director's monologue.
And what happened?
The director felt deeply heard, assumed Jessica was a brilliant strategic thinker, and she literally got promoted 3 months later.
See, that's brilliant because the nod functions as a mirror for the speaker's ego.
Wow, yeah.
But, for fast-paced multi-person group settings, the guide says you have to shift to the rapid rhythmic nod, the RRN.
Oh, right. How does that one work?
This is 3 to 4 shallow nods per second, paired with a slight forward lean. It signals active tracking of a dynamic conversation. You are visually establishing that you're keeping up with the pace, even if you are entirely lost in the weeds.
Okay, but the camouflage requires the whole body, not just the head, because confidence is angular, right, and fear is curved.
Exactly.
So to survive a high-stakes room, you have to execute the power set. You have to claim the physical real estate of the furniture, feet flat on the floor, shoulders rolled back and down. And you have to aggressively eliminate anxiety leaks.
Oh, anxiety leaks are the worst.
Like the turtlenecking, where your head sort of shrinks down into your collarbones, and absolutely no leg bouncing under the table. Like if you're generating enough kinetic energy to vibrate the conference table, your raccoons are showing.
Well, the physical discipline required here is intense because you are actively overriding an evolutionary mandate. Your nervous system is perceiving a threat. Right, being exposed as incompetent in front of the tribe.
Yes, the tribe will banish you.
Right, and your brain is telling you to make yourself small, to hide, or to flee. But you are forcing your skeletal structure to do the exact opposite.
And you anchor that structure with the ultimate prop, the notebook, the nod and jot technique.
Oh, the nod and jot is a classic.
Someone says something incomprehensible. You deliver the thoughtful nod, you intentionally break eye contact, and you write something down. And you pair this with a very specific metric, the 3 to 5 second eye contact rule.
So you aren't just staring them down.
Right. You lock eyes for a few seconds, then look down at the notebook so you aren't just engaging in a hostile staring contest. You can even use the triangle technique, where you shift your gaze from their left eye to their right eye to their forehead to distribute the intensity.
It works so well.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm listening to this. And if I'm sitting there doing a slow, profound nod, maintaining angular posture, and I'm just writing the word H-E-L-P over and over again in tiny letters in my notebook. I'm just deceiving people, aren't I? It feels like elaborate stage magic. It's misdirection, not professional development.
I get that. But that assumes the posture's only for the benefit of the audience. What's fascinating here is the mechanism at play. It's a psychological phenomenon called embodied cognition.
Embodied cognition?
Yeah. You aren't just fooling the room. You are aggressively biohacking your own nervous system.
Wait, how does sitting angularly actually change my brain?
It comes down to endocrinology. When you force your body into an expansive power sit, and when you maintain steady eye contact instead of darting your eyes around the room like a prey animal scanning for predators, your skeletal muscles send sensory feedback to your brain.
So the body talks back to the brain.
Exactly. You are tricking your own hypothalamus. Studies in embodied cognition demonstrate that assuming these high-power poses actually begins to lower your cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right, your primary stress hormone, while simultaneously increasing your testosterone, which is linked to risk tolerance confidence.
Wow. So the costume actually changes the chemistry.
Precisely.
Uh-huh.
It isn't just stage magic. When you are in the competence chasm, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for complex problem-solving and learning, it's basically being suffocated by cortisol.
You're just in fight or flight.
Yeah. So by locking your body into a confident posture, you are flushing the cortisol out of your system. You are giving yourself the physiological runway needed to bring your prefrontal cortex back online. You have to fake it physically so your brain can stop panicking and actually start absorbing the information.
So you biohack your cortisol so you can actually hear what's being said.
Yep.
But, eventually someone is going to stop talking, look across the table, and ask you a direct question.
The dreaded moment.
You can't just nod and jot your way out of being called on. Your physical camouflage is instantly useless if you don't know how to pivot when you're forced to speak.
Which is where we transition from physical camouflage to verbal judo. Generating sounds that imply competence without exposing the gaps in your knowledge requires a very specific linguistic toolkit.
The primary weapon here is the strategic redirect.
Oh, this is a powerful one.
You are asked a question. You don't know the answer. The rule is you do not answer the question they asked. You answer the question you wish they had asked.
Exactly.
And the most effective way to do this is to take a highly specific, tactical question that you have no clue about and elevate it to a broad strategic question that you actually can discuss.
You are shifting the battleground from their home turf to yours.
Yes. It's exactly how Kevin, a product manager from the guide, handled a pretty brutal team meeting. The lead engineer turned to him and asked for the exact calculation of their current sprint velocity.
And Kevin had no idea.
Kevin didn't even know what the formula for sprint velocity was. But instead of freezing, he validated and pivoted. He said, and I love this, that is the essential quantitative question, absolutely. But strategically, I think the more urgent question for this room is, are we measuring the right things to begin with?
Ooh. Good pivot.
Because if our sprint velocity is at record highs, but we are shipping the wrong features to the user, that metric is completely meaningless.
Wow, it's a masterclass in conversational dominance.
Right.
Because by validating the tactical question first, Kevin strokes the engineer's ego.
Right.
But by elevating it to a strategic level, he immediately puts the engineering lead on the defensive regarding the product roadmap.
And it worked perfectly. The engineer spent the next 10 minutes passionately defending the feature set while Kevin just sat back, took notes, and subtly Googled the formula for sprint velocity on his phone under the table.
Brilliant deflection. But,
yeah.
Sometimes you don't even have a redirect chambered.
True. What do you do then?
When you need immediate cover, you lean into vocal minimalism. The tactical, yeah. Just a slow, descending, resonant, It buys you 2 full seconds of thinking time. But more importantly, it makes you sound deeply contemplative rather than confused. And you pair that with the strategic deployment of the corporate glossary.
Yes. The semantic clouds of modern business. Words like synergy, alignment, bandwidth, holistic.
Now the classics.
You just string these together to sound incredibly authoritative without actually making a single falsifiable claim. You just say, well, we need to ensure cross-functional alignment before we commit the bandwidth to this holistic initiative.
And you haven't actually said anything concrete.
Not a single thing, but everyone in the room nods along.
Because corporate jargon, it's heavily mocked in pop culture, usually dismissed as just empty buzzwords. But sociologically, it exists precisely as a linguistic defense mechanism.
A defense mechanism.
Yeah, it creates plausible deniability. In a high-stakes corporate ecosystem, speaking in absolutes is dangerous because absolutes can be proven wrong. Jargon is a shared illusion designed for maximum vagueness. It is the perfect verbal hiding spot for your raccoons.
That makes so much sense. But the ultimate verbal judo move, the phrase that has probably saved more white-collar careers than any MBA program, is the temporal buffer.
Oh, the buffer, yes.
4 magic words. Let me circle back. When you're backed into a corner, you just look them dead in the eye and say, I want to make sure I give you highly precise numbers rather than rough estimates, so let me pull that data and circle back with you by end of day tomorrow.
Notice what you're doing there. You are framing your ignorance as extreme conscientiousness.
I care too much to guess.
Exactly. You aren't delaying because you don't know. You are delaying because you care so deeply about accuracy.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because when I first thought about the temporal buffer, it reminded me of hitting the snooze button on your morning alarm.
Oh, how so?
Well, hitting snooze feels euphoric in the moment because you escape the immediate pain of waking up. But a snooze button only works if you actually get out of bed eventually.
Right.
So if you buy yourself 48 hours with a temporal buffer, but you just spend 47 of those hours having a low-grade panic attack and then scramble to cobble together an answer in the final hour, you are just compounding your anxiety. Like, you're worse off than if you just admitted you didn't know in the meeting.
Okay, and that is exactly why relying purely on the delay is fatal. The temporal buffer is not procrastination. It is the deliberate creation of a pocket of private learning. To make it work, you have to follow the 255 0.25 rule.
Okay, break that down. How does that actually play out?
You take the time you bought, let's say 24 hours. The first 25% of that time is strictly for research and gathering raw information. Consulting documentation, Googling, finding past examples.
Gathering the pieces.
Right. The middle 50% is for deep analysis and actually drafting the deliverable or figuring out the answer. And the final 25% is for reviewing, polishing, and this is crucial, setting it slightly early.
Tending it early.
Yes, because that reinforces the illusion that you had this under control the whole time.
It's turning a moment of public ignorance into a moment of demonstrated competence. You retreat, let the raccoons frantically consult the manuals, you learn the actual skill, and return as a unified professional.
It fundamentally changes how we should view competence. The delay is a feature of the modern knowledge worker. It's not a bug. No one has all the information loaded into their RAM at all times.
It's impossible.
Right. The skill isn't knowing the answer instantly. The skill is knowing how to procure the answer efficiently without losing the trust of your stakeholders.
That is a massive relief. But, I mean, biohacking your posture and mastering semantic clouds will only keep you alive in an isolated meeting. If you actually want to thrive long-term, you cannot survive the corporate ecosystem alone.
No, you can't.
You have to master the people around you. You have to build a pack.
Social camouflage, moving from individual tactical survival to broader organizational strategy.
And step one of pack behavior is identifying your Dave.
Everybody needs a Dave.
Every single workplace, regardless of industry, has a Dave. This is the veteran faker. Dave has been at the company for 3 to 7 years. He isn't necessarily the most brilliant strategist in the room, but he is practically invincible because he uses institutional history as an absolute shield.
Oh, yeah.
Dave says things like, well, back in the 2021 restructure, we tried a similar matrix and legal killed it.
Because Dave's superpower is simply tenure. He has survived the chasm long enough to possess context, robust interpersonal relationships, and historical pattern recognition. He knows where the bodies are buried.
And more importantly, he knows where the shared Google Drive folders are buried.
The real treasure.
Right. But you can't just rely on one person. You need a multi-Dave strategy. You have to identify a technical Dave who actually knows how to unfreeze the proprietary software. A political Dave who knows whose ego actually needs to be stroked to get a budget approved. And a process Dave who understands the Byzantine labyrinth of compliance approvals.
And you observe them, you buy them coffee, and you learn their specific dialects.
Yes. But curating a collection of Daves isn't enough, right? You also have to find the other people who are secretly terrified. You have to build horizontal alliances.
The alliance of the baffled.
I love that phrase, finding your fellow raccoons. But obviously, you can't just walk up to a coworker in the break room and scream, I have no idea what I'm doing. Are you a fraud too?
No, that would be counterproductive.
So you have to utilize the graduated vulnerability test. It's like a microtrust exercise. You drop a tiny, low-stakes admission of confusion. You say something like, man, I'm still getting used to how dense these monthly reporting templates are.
It's a behavioral handshake protocol.
Exactly. If they brush you off and say, oh, they're super intuitive, I finished mine in 10 minutes, you immediately retreat. They are not safe. They are still heavily armored.
Retreat and regroup.
But if they lean in and say, oh my gosh, me too, I had to ask the finance team 3 times to explain the variance column, then you have successfully found an ally. You form a quiet underground network where you can ask the dumb questions without fear of judgment.
Which is huge, because this shatters the profound isolation of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And this pack behavior extends upwards as well. You have to manage your boss.
Because your boss is also faking it. They are just as overwhelmed. So you use proactive communication. You do not wait for your boss to ask what you are doing. You send a concise Friday update email.
Crucial step.
Just a quick, here's what I accomplished, here's what is on deck for Monday, and here are my current blockers. And when you inevitably hit a crisis, you never just walk into their office with a problem.
Never just bring the problem.
No. You bring the problem, 3 potential solutions you've brainstormed, and your specific recommendation.
You are doing the cognitive heavy lifting for them. By reducing their decision fatigue, you become indispensable, and they project a halo of high competence onto you.
Hang on, though. I'm looking at this whole social ecosystem, and if I'm constantly shadowing my Daves, picking their brains, and using their institutional knowledge as cover, isn't that just professional parasitism? Like, I'm just leeching off their tenure. And on the flip side, we're told to eventually help the new interns below us. If I am already drowning in my own incompetence and barely keeping my raccoons hidden, why would I waste my precious survival time helping the new person?
I get why it feels like parasitism, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally comes back to how the human brain actually consolidates knowledge. There is a deeply researched concept in educational psychology called the learning pyramid.
Okay, what is that?
Well, when you simply read a manual, you retain about 10% of the information. When you hear a lecture, maybe 20%. But you retain roughly 90% of what you actively teach to someone else.
90% retention just from explaining it.
Yes, because teaching forces your brain to build robust neural pathways. You have to organize the information chronologically, you have to anticipate questions, and articulate the why behind the what.
Oh, I see.
So when Days takes an hour to explain the company's chaotic history to you, it is not parasitism. He is actually solidifying his own cognitive map of the organization. He's reinforcing his own status and expertise.
It's a symbiotic loop.
Entirely. And when you finally take 20 minutes to sit down with a terrified new intern and help them navigate a project kickoff, you are forced to synthesize what you've absorbed over the last few months. And in the middle of explaining it to them, you experience this profound psychological shift. You suddenly realize, wait a minute, I actually do know how this works.
You realize you aren't at the bottom of the chasm anymore.
Teaching the person below you is the ultimate scientifically proven cure for imposter syndrome. It provides your brain with undeniable empirical evidence that you have acquired real knowledge. It transforms an ecosystem of isolated panic into a compounding engine of organizational competence.
Wow. So to everyone listening, the next time you are sitting in a fluorescent-lit conference room, staring at a spreadsheet that might as well be written in ancient Sumerian, and you feel that familiar primal freefall in your stomach, remember the incredibly powerful tools you have at your disposal.
You are not unarmed.
Exactly. Plant your feet, drop your shoulders, and deploy the power sit to flush the cortisol out of your brain. Give the room a slow, pensive nod. If you get cornered with the direct question, hit them with a strategic redirect, or drop a tap roll buffer and confidently tell them you'll circle back with precise data by Friday. And when all else fails, go find your Dave.
Always find a Dave.
So what does this all mean? It means the trench coat is doing a massive amount of heavy lifting in those first 6 months. You are projecting an illusion. But if you keep showing up, if you use the buffer time to actually execute the private learning, and if you continually solidify that knowledge by teaching the people below you, eventually something magical happens. The practice of faking it becomes completely indistinguishable from actual competence. The 3 raccoons coordinate so perfectly, they fuse into a genuine professional.
It really is an amazing transformation. It does leave us with a rather profound sociological question to ponder long after this discussion ends, though.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if every single person in the global economy, from the terrified new intern navigating their first spreadsheet, all the way up to the highest-paid CEO addressing a board of directors, if everyone is essentially just 3 raccoons in a trench coat, deploying confident nods, vague corporate jargon, and temporal buffers, what does that actually mean for our societal concept of expertise?
Oh, wow.
Right. Is modern civilization fundamentally built on a foundation of universally agreed upon bluffing? And if it is, isn't that actually a beautiful, remarkable testament to human adaptability?
I mean, we are all just stepping off the curb, falling through the chasm, and collectively agreeing to call it flying. Keep your trench coat buttoned up, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.